All right. Marsha Powers. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
So, what are you running for? Why? Go.
So, again, I'm Marsha Powers. I'm running for District 2 to be your school board member in District 2. I'm currently the school board member. I was born and raised here in Martin County, continuing to raise, even though my kids are a little bit older, but continuing to raise our family here with my husband, Kevin, who was also born and raised here in Martin County. Education is something that's really important to our family. It's really important to our community and the success of our community. So I'm happy to lend my experience and my commitment to our community.
How long have you been a school board member?
So I've been a school board member for almost 12 years. I was first elected in 2012.
What made you want to throw yourself into politics? It's usually, most people avoid those controversial, what compelled you to say, man, I need to get involved and step up?
So back in 2012, 11, 12, I don't know if you recall, but the school district was in turmoil, honestly. The board and the superintendent, they were constantly on the front page of the Stuart News at the time. There was just no cohesiveness. There were times when the board would not even allow the superintendent to speak at the board meetings.
What were the issues? What was going on?
There was a lot of disagreement on how to run the school board. There was...
More specifically, though, like what?
So I don't know if you remember, it was Nancy Klein, was a former school board member who got elected to serve as superintendent. And so she left the board and became the superintendent and then the sitting board. And she was always a little bit of, I don't want to say controversial, but didn't always go with the flow. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that sat very well with a lot of the board members. She was, so it sparked this animosity among the board. And it really wasn't even about real issues. It was more about personalities.
Got it.
So it was very petty. Again, it had a really negative impact on the morale in the district.
Was it like a red-blue kind of a thing, or just different people and my way, your way?
Exactly. I don't know that it was a red-blue. It wasn't that political party related.
Just a lot of ego flying around.
A lot of ego, a lot of personalities.
Got it.
So.
And so you entered the chat and you said, what was your tone? What did you bring to the school board? What was your vision and what did you deploy?
So really it was about restoring the congeniality that you need and the professionalism that you need to really be effective as a board. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, you obviously must have disagreement. There's never, sometimes you're all going to agree on something and sometimes I've been the one vote. And I'm okay with that because I think that we have to have constructive conversation about issues, and that's really important. And that was not happening before. And I will say that since I've been on the board, regardless of who's been on the board, we've had very outspoken people. I feel like I'm more level. I'm a little calmer. But I'm also not afraid to express my opinion, and I'm also not afraid to be on the losing side if I feel strongly about an issue.
So this is good. See, I can learn from you. I can learn, right, and glean from you. Keeping composure, but having productive conversation, even when you're the one dissenting vote, and this is a very important issue.
Yes.
That's good. And, I'm glad we're having this conversation, man.
It does take some time because I was like you when I first started as well. Yep. That you have...
Gets spicy.
Well, and you want things to happen quicker. Right. And quite honestly, in government, it takes a while. Things take time. Mm-hmm. And I'll just use an example. One of the things that I really was passionate about, I was born and raised in Indiantown, so that the Western Martin County community is really, really important to me. I want to make sure that they receive all the same resources that every school in Martin County receives. So I don't know if you know this, but 5th grade was always at Indiantown Middle School. And when I first got on the board, I was passionate about getting 5th grade back in the elementary school because, let's be honest, it would not be acceptable anywhere else in this county.
True.
Nobody else would tolerate having 5th graders there. And one of the administrators at the time, no longer there, said to me, well, we had to recently make that change because of capacity. We didn't have the capacity at Warfield. And I was shocked, first of all, when he said that to me, because I attended 5th grade at Indiantown Middle School. So I know that it had been years and years and years of 5th grade being at the middle school where it didn't belong. Mm-hmm. And finally, this past school year, 5th grade was returned to Warfield Elementary School, thanks to our current board supporting it and our superintendent and the principals at Indiantown Middle and Warfield Elementary. And lo and behold, we have seen double-digit improvements in our scores for our 5th graders. It's just the way the academics work for elementary school versus a middle school. And I feel like that it was a really great decision because it was a good decision for kids. Change is hard, but we have to do what's right for kids.
So you're saying be patient.
Be patient.
The good thing will work itself out.
I hope that it doesn't take 12 years,
right. But sometimes it does.
But sometimes it does, and when it happens, it's really worth it. It'll be worth it, I promise.
So, with this election cycle, how would you characterize, without going into who you're running against or who's running against you, how would you kind of characterize your vision, for the school board? Because you guys have 4-year terms, right? Mm-hmm. For the next 4 years under your leadership, what are the goals? What's your vision?
So education has changed drastically over the last 12 years since I've been on the school board. Obviously, I think the most significant change is now the new Family Empowerment Scholarship. Really puts a lot of decision-making in the hands of parents, which I wholeheartedly support. I think parents are the best to make decisions and direct their child's education. So I think one of the things as a school board member is that my job is now to make sure that as a parent, in your case, you have the best choices available to you. Mm-hmm. If you want to choose a traditional public school here in Martin County, that we have the best schools available to you as a parent. And what we find a lot is that, depending on where you are and what works for your family, you may choose to send your child to school in elementary and then homeschool in middle school, or send your child to a private school and then come back for high school. We just want to make sure, and it's my goal, that we're all working together as this new system is being created, because it is still very new. And it's not, I don't want it to be an us against them. I want to be working side by side with homeschool parents, with private schools, charter schools, and our traditional schools. So as children move around and they come in and out, that we know that if you were homeschooled in elementary, when your child enters 6th grade, they're ready for 6th grade at our public school. Mm-hmm. So whatever choice you make, and vice versa, if a child is leaving our public school and going to a private school, that we're all on the same page on where these kids are academically and what their needs are.
How do you make that, as seamless as possible and integrated, right? Because I think of like homeschool, you can't really, you're not that involved in what's happening at home, but having them be able to plug in to 6th grade, like you mentioned, how do you have that be a system that's functional and integrated?
Well, I think it's a lot of it is just about conversation. It's about talking. It's about including all the stakeholders in the conversation. So like, for example, when we have professional development at the school district, we invite all the charter schools. The charter schools are invited to come and participate. We could also open that up now to private schools and homeschool.
Yeah.
You know, like if a parent really wants to delve into something that we're offering, professional development that we're offering, they should be welcome to come and do that because it only benefits kids.
Does the school board offer some kind of framework or outline, to kind of aid homeschool parents? Is that something that might be brewing, if not, in the future, so that it is integrated, right? The kind of what they should be learning and what sixth graders are going to be learning.
So I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with the homeschool process, but I do know that our staff review like what the plans for homeschool students. They take a look, make sure that academically they're on a path
before they come in.
Yeah, before they, even I believe, and I don't even want to say, I believe that they do review like the plan, like for elementary school or for a student, they review that to make sure that the students are getting the academics on the level that they need.
Because I would imagine that scenario that you hypothetically laid out would be the most popular. I know I'm hyper focused on homeschool because we're homeschooling our kids, but where a parent might want to homeschool during middle school for, I don't know, perceived anxiety, whether it's warranted or not, over bullying or just, our own trauma from middle school. But that you might want to keep the kids home for middle school, but being able to plug them, back in.
Well, and I think that really happens when we open our doors to everyone, to whatever you're choosing. So for homeschool parents, I mean, I'm sure they want to know and be assured that what they're doing for 3 years of their child's life is going to prepare them. It's going to prepare them to return, if that's their goal, is that they will return to a traditional public school for high school. And so, again, we just need to be partners in this. We need to all be on the same page and support each other as best we can. Because there are, I always hear a lot of people say, oh, we need to be treated like, we need charter schools to be treated the same as public schools. And I'm like,
in what regard?
Well, there's not as much oversight, like with the board and, there's not as much oversight. But I'm like, do we really want them to be treated like us, or do we want to be treated like them? Do we want more autonomy as a school district that is given to a charter school? Absolutely.
For people who may not be fully aware, a charter school, and this is, I'm including myself in here, I don't fully understand this. What is the defined structure and relationship to the school board that a charter school, like they are chartering?
So what happens in the charter school process is a charter school applicant, like here in Martin County, we only have a few. We have Indiantown High School, Treasure Coast Classical, Clark Advanced Learning Center, and Hope Center for Autism. So essentially what they do is they fill out a charter school application. They submit to us all the their code of conduct, all their policies and procedures, how they handle ESC students, how they handle discipline, and they submit that as an application to the school district, and we're the authorizer. So we get, our staff goes through everything. They make sure that they have all the elements to open a charter. They talk a little bit about their uniqueness, because we're pretty lucky in Martin County. Because our public schools are so great, we're not having a ton of charter applications come in.
Right,
because
there's not a huge vacuum for what is needed.
No, they're very niche areas that are serving, very specialized populations in our community. So we are not getting those Charter School USA and all the big ones coming in to just...
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so...
Do you limit the number of applications, or it's just they come to you as they come? And
yeah, they just come to us as they come. We have never, we haven't denied one, but we also haven't gotten any that are not pretty specialized. Like, TCCA has that classical education model that obviously parents wanted it because they filled up very quickly. It was a need that wasn't being met that parents wanted. Hope Center for Autism is obviously a gem in our community, and we're very lucky to have them, and the work that they do is phenomenal. And then we have Indiantown High School, which is more workforce based through Indian River State College. And then Clark Advanced Learning Center, which is our, for college bound students. I think a majority of those students that graduate receive their AA degree at the end of their high school career.
Which personally, I feel like we need more of. My whole generation, I'm 40, we're all in these service jobs or like tech jobs, computer-based jobs. And it's like very few people my age and younger can really fix anything. We sort of overlooked the trade schools and, but who fixes the cars, who puts the windows in, who installs the doors. And if you have a huge disparity as boomers are retiring in those various fields, because they are, the cost to have somebody who's really good at doing that is going to be incredibly high because there's no competition in the market. There's a lot of doors that need to be replaced and not a lot of guys that do it well.
Well, and I love to talk about Indiantown High School. It has been something that I've been really passionate about. I'll just give you a little bit of background on it.
Yeah,
so
please.
About eight or 9 years ago, Vicki Davis and I, she's on their board of trustees, I had met with her, and then she facilitated a meeting with the former president of IRSC to specifically talk about Indiantown. And they had a building out there that wasn't really being utilized. And I'm like, what can we do? What can we do different to offer that partnership with Indian River State College in the Indiantown community? And, they listened, and it just never went anywhere. And then when Indian River State College hired their new president, Vicki and I met with the new president together, and I shared my idea again. And he was extremely enthusiastic about it. And when I tell you this, Chris, it was like, I don't know, almost divine. We were sitting in our second meeting, and I was sharing my dream for Indiantown and, having availability for more advanced workforce training in the community. And I got a call from one of the nuns at the Catholic Church and said, I have a couple. His wife volunteered for Hope Rural School in Indiantown, and they want to do something for education in Indiantown. And it just took off. And that's how we met Charles and Sandy Johnston, who are the most amazing philanthropic people. Charles got his wealth from the tech industry. When tech was not tech, he's 86 years old now. And he's been very successful. And he really and truly saw the need for just what you're saying, that vocational technical training that is missing, that kids are going to college and they're not coming out in high paying jobs. And how do we support a true workforce? And that's when kind of IRSC stepped in. And it's not just about becoming a plumber or becoming a welder or becoming an electrician. It's about building your brand, building your business. Maybe you go to work for a big electric company in the beginning, but how do I become an entrepreneur? How do I build my own business that contributes to the community? And so it's more than just learning the skill. It's really about being entrepreneurial and having that spirit and preparing them for what it will be like, to be their own business. It's really exciting.
Exactly. It's the way that's a snazzy looking building, by the way.
Yeah. Very high tech.
Super cool. it doesn't matter what you do anymore if you don't know how to brand it and market it with social media, and it's hard to get off the ground. So being able to have those functional skills of, I saw in the Marine, being able to work on boats, and maybe you're wiring electrical in a boat. Well, to be able to get your company off the ground, being able to even market it, those are functional skills you need to really start a business. And it's not just the tech, it's
all the other things. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned the Marine piece of it, because that's, Indian, again, I'm sorry I talk about Indiantown High School a lot, but it's been
as much as you want.
It's been, I'm just super proud. Like, it brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. But the landowner across the street, Joe Walsh, who owns Indiantown Marine Center, it's the newest Marine Center in Indiantown. He donated the property across the street from Indiantown High School. And I think the goal is, in the future, take that property and make it truly a working marina. So the kids are just crossing the street, and there will they'll be doing the actual work that is in a yard like Indiantown Marine Center or Indiantown Marina, right. Scott Watson's Marina in Indiantown. Like, they're learning how to do bottom paint, and they're learning how to operate the
fairing and teak and electrical, everything. Yeah,
and I was visited Willis Marine, and just the craftsmanship for the wood inside there, like that is a dying art. Mm-hmm. Like, who do they train to have that master level skill? And they're all older, they're older. How do we encourage young people to go into those businesses? Because it truly is an art. If you look at what they do with the wood and it is absolutely amazing. And so we need to be capturing kids that want to do those types of businesses and training them early.
And you're providing them a way to support a future family in a field that's not going away. I mean, there's more water around here, more boats. Mm-hmm. And it seems like people are continuing to move here with their boats. Yeah. And as all those boomers retired that do, I know some of them, they do the bottom paint and they do an amazing job, but it's like I can't find it. I'm still having to work. I would love to have a couple of guys that were really talented underneath. They can't find them. Right. So you're doing a really good thing by moving in that direction. Yeah. You're not just crossing T's and dotting I's. You're functionally, thank you.
It's very exciting.
Good job.
It's exciting for not just for Indiantown, but for the whole community. And it truly isn't that far. Like, people are like, oh, out in Indiantown. Well, it is on the east side of Indiantown. It's before you get to the airport. The high school is, and as it grows, I 100% believe we'll be working on transportation and those types of things that might be a barrier for some students to attend. So, there are big plans. It's still growing, but it's still very, very exciting. And one of the things that's really great, so we have a welding program. There's a welding program, and there is a new welding East Coast Metals, I think is the name of it, that's coming to Indiantown. They're getting ready to open, and they have partnered to be part of the training process so that when students do graduate from the welding program at Indiantown High School, they're immediately employable at a very livable wage once they graduate from Indiantown High School from the welding program, and they have input in the training. So they're part of the training process so that they are truly workforce ready when they graduate.
I think it's an interesting point too, because Indiantown's booming. You hear how much it's growing. But something I've noticed that's unique about, there's the Marine Center is, right? Something that's unique about Indiantown that I thought was really cool is, of what's getting approved and built, a lot of it's single family homes that people can actually own. So you have this cocktail of learning how to do these functional skills that are well-paying jobs and being able to own a home. Somebody may argue that it's too many units or something, but I don't see a better cocktail for what a municipality should be doing
Right.
than the industry that can support a family, and then you give a family a place to own so they're not doing the rental trap thing forever. It's kind of perfect.
It's really, honestly, I'm so passionate about it because it's about building up families and giving them the American dream of home ownership. It's one of the few places left in Martin County that can be truly affordable.
And we talk about affordability constantly, or it's all you hear is affordable housing.
Right.
Right. But that shouldn't just mean apartments. It seems like that's all that.
Right.
And rent's going to continue to go up. If you don't have a mortgage that you can hedge against that inflation, is it really affordable? No, affordable housing is being able to own a starter home.
Right.
Right.
And quite honestly, our daughter is in the market. She wants to buy a home, and I'm like, can you hold out until Indiantown is online? Because from an affordability standpoint for her, I don't know what other options are out there for working, the working middle class family, even, that you don't want to invest, $1 million into a home, that you want to have an affordable home that you can then build on that, and your entire wages are not going to your mortgage or rent, which is the reality right now.
Yeah, it's through the roof, credit card debt and percentage of income that's going to rent and your mortgage.
Yep.
That, and she just needs to wait till November, right? Just to make everybody crazy. So, beyond that, there's no term limits on the school board, right?
So term limits were just enacted.
Okay, so you do have term limits.
Yes, 8 years are the term limits. So
you guys voted for term limits, or that's something
we did not.
opposed?
It was the state. The state changed it not this past session, but the session before. They did 12 years, and then this session they changed it to 8. The way my terms fall, my term limits start.
Is it just the school board that applies to? Okay, I wonder why, and not the county and city seats.
They were trying to do county and...
But it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
They ended up...
Yeah, they ended up removing the county. They got so much pushback. And I am okay. Do not oppose term limits. We have a history...
As long as you have a quality human behind you.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we have a history in Martin County. I mean, people stay in office a long time. We've had some really great ones. I've mentioned Vicki Davis, Laurel Kelly, Sheriff Crowder. We have a history of really great public servants serving for longer than, let's say, 8 years. And it does present some issues. I don't think so much in Martin County as it does in rural counties where they don't have the bench.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people.
Yeah, so how do you, I feel bad for those. Like, Martin County is different than Calhoun County in the Panhandle. So, it's hard when you apply a blanket term limit like that. And how do we, but, maybe we'll have some way to address it if people don't run, But I think we have a lot of really quality people here that, will step up. For all the seats that are, available, regardless of term limits or not.
I feel like it's taken me 2 years to even get a sense of what's going on and not fight with everybody. How does this really work, and how to get anything done. It takes some time anyway.
It really does, and I think 2 years is, part of your growing process.
Right.
The first 2 years, and then the second 2 years, you're still. I
still
I'll be
feel
honest.
Green. I don't feel like I'm, yeah.
And I think you'll probably start to hit your stride in your second 4 years. And
I was really hoping somebody else would want to do this at that point, so I can just focus on my business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. I told you I'd do that.
It's all balanced.
So the second 4 years, you hit a stride, and
I
characterize that for me, since you've got that experience.
So I think the experience comes with knowing the processes, because you, as a person coming from the outside, a conservative minded, less government,
Yep.
it can be a little overwhelming
Exactly.
at first. And then you kind of learn the processes and you start to build relationships, because I can tell you success in what you do is about relationships. And I think sometimes, you really have to sit back and take a deep breath and
Less adversarial and more
because
collective.
you're going to want to get things done, but building relationships outside of, not just with your commission, but with the community.
Yep.
Because when, like, school safety is a big thing for me, and I am passionate about that. I serve on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Safety Commission, and it is imperative that we have a wonderful relationship with our law enforcement community. Because if something happens in our community, I 100% know that a Martin County deputy is not going to stand outside while children are murdered inside a classroom. And I know that because I have an amazing relationship with our sheriff, and I know what his expectations are of his staff, but I know them because I know their ethics, and I know that they would never behave that way.
You can look them in the eye and say, hey, man, send me the guys that'll go to war.
Yeah, and there's not a single one of them that I believe wouldn't be barging in to save children. And that's part of, why Martin County is great, because we have high expectations at every level, not just in our schools, but our public safety, our amenities in our community. We have expectations. The community has expectations, and I think it's incumbent on us as elected officials to, look at that and keep living in Martin County the best place to be.
That was awesome. I need to keep picking your brain, see, on what that real-time experience is as somebody who's been on a board. So you got 8 years, and your goals are for the 8 years that you have, assuming you win, right? Because you would start, the 8 years would start with this one. Yeah. So assuming you have 8, with that compression of time, what are we getting done?
So I think we have a really great leadership team now. I couldn't be happier with our superintendent.
I love him.
I love him. Like, he is enthusiastic. I think that we kind of went through a little lull with morale in the school district. A lot of things have been pushed down from Tallahassee that have impacted that.
Give me an example.
I think, there's a lot of testing. There's a lot of things that I think teachers feel are, they're losing some of their autonomy on what they can do and what they can't do in the classroom. But quite honestly, I don't think it has impacted Martin County as much, because a lot of the things that have been happening and a lot of the laws that have been put in place to deal with mostly social issues, I don't believe a lot of those things are happening in Martin County schools. I believe that our teachers are...
Like what? Give me an example of what you're talking about.
The Don't Say Gay bill. That was a big push down from Tallahassee. I think that we let teachers know, and what I hear from teachers is that wasn't happening anyway.
Really
we weren't discussing sexual orientation in our classrooms, and I said, my response is perfect. Yeah. We're good. Yep. We're good here in Martin County. We're not doing that. So those laws weren't made for us in this community. So but I still think that it's kind of like being told, like, okay, well, I'm not breaking a law, but now we have to have a law that tells me I can't break that law, because
it does feel like a lot of erosion of home rule lately.
Yeah, it really is.
Kind of across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I think
we got to sit down with Gail, Toby, and John, right? Like, we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. They're open to listen. I know that.
It seems like it comes from the governor, though. Like, that's who's going to set the tone for a lot of,
Well, and it's hard, I think, as professionals, as that are teachers, it's like anything else. The laws are made for the people that are going to break them. They're not made for the good good people that are, but it sometimes feels like you're being accused of something, like
Yes.
when they make something, it's like, well, we're not doing that. Well, of course, no, because you're a good ethical professional. Of course you're not doing that, but that rule wasn't made for you, but it sometimes feels like that. And I get that. And it can impact morale, and I think that, one of the things that,
It's one more thing to worry about.
But our superintendent has really made an effort to focus on employee morale. Being, I even find it in my day job that, a lot of times just being a cheerleader and supporting the people that are in the trenches is more important. And obviously pay is a huge issue.
How do we, I don't know how we're doing on pay. No, you're shaking your head.
So, so when I first started, I think our starting teacher pay was right around 36,000, may have been 34, 36. We're up to about 50 for starting pay, approximately $50,000.
How does that compare?
We're ahead of Indian River County. We're like right on par with
So
St.
why do you
Lucie.
shake your head? What's the issue? Could be
Well,
more. Or?
I think it could be more. I don't say it could be, it should be. But we're very lucky in Martin County because the way teacher pay works, so that I think it's like $49,500 is our base. So if you're a brand new teacher graduating from college, you come to the Martin County School District, that's what you're going to make. And I think one of the big things is that we've been forced to address starting pay, and we haven't been able to address
The steps
of, the years of service. And we're starting to do that now. But one of the ways that we're very lucky in Martin County. So the way salaries work, you have your base student, or your base pay. And then if you have a master's degree or a doctorate or an advanced degree, you get automatically, and you get it's like $2,500 for a master's degree. So you get that in addition. And then if you take on any other responsibilities, like you're the volleyball coach or you run the National Honor Society, there are stipends that build on that. So you'll get a stipend for those things. And then thank you to the voters of Martin County, we also have the half mill that was passed back in 2018. It's up for renewal in November for reauthorization of that. And
what does that provide?
That is, majority of that goes to teacher pay. It goes,
which is surprising because Martin County, we don't like taxes,
I know.
So that says a lot.
It's
for everybody to approve that.
It says a lot because people in this community support our teachers,
Yep.
and they want that. And not only that, but we want that for all of our employees because, we have slowly started to address it with teachers, but then we're also slowly starting to address it with all of our other staff as well. So, making sure that all of our employees were at $15 an hour. Like, that's crazy to think that in a government job, we had employees that were not making $15 an hour. So we've addressed that. So we're ahead of the game for when the minimum wage happens. But like starting to address those incremental increases that our employees need. And, we negotiate that every year. So, or when we get it, I think we have a 2 or 3 year deal with the teachers union now. So they negotiate that. And so really it's based on years of experience now, that supplement. So a teacher can get anywhere from, let's say, $500 to $10,000. So added on in addition to, so when you add in the supplements or just the educational supplement that they get if they have a master's, and then you add in the millage, our average pay is about $63,000.
Whoa.
So it's very important, and the voters are going to choose whether they reauthorize that, but it's a really important part that differentiates
What's
us.
our highest paid teacher get paid?
The last I saw, it's like right around $100,000. So, but there's no clear, one of the things like you and I are used to out in the public sector is that, there's a path there, like, okay, I'm going to start at 50, but I'm going to, I have the chance with good performance to be at the maximum of 100,000 by the end of my career. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit different in the whole government world. First of all, the pay is lower in general in state government or local governments.
Teachers are getting FRS or no?
They do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle for all of us in the working world. You have employees. Insurance is skyrocketing, not just homeowners insurance, which then affects affordability of homes. So back to that. But health insurance, it is so expensive. And it's expensive for our families. And it's expensive for our families to insure their families. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like we went to a tiered system a few years back. And I kind of fought it a little bit because we had a standard, like you were either covered for your single or you were covered for everybody, and everybody paid the same, like whether you had 2 people or you had 10 people in your family.
Yep.
And then we went to this tiered system where now it's like, okay, if you're single, you pay this rate. If you're single plus a child, you pay this. There are 4 different tiers. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things I fought for was because traditional families took the hit. Mom, dad, kids.
Yep.
Their insurance tripled in a matter of time with no preparation for this huge, did it address some of the inequities in those that were paying for more? Yes, but then it also really hit traditional families, and they were no longer able to afford to insure their family under our plan. And that's disheartening to me, because I think that that's what we do. We are about families and education. And
trust me, man, I got 4 kids, right? So I can't think of the president, I think it was of Hungary, but they're basically paying stipends per kid for families, right? I'm all about it. Help out the families. So you're looking at the next 8 years. What are we doing? What are we getting accomplished?
Well, I think that we are, building on this new system that we're talking about. The new
era of school.
The new era of school choice, and what that looks like and how we're going to support families.
What do you see the future of that looking like? Are there trends? Is there like a trajectory?
So I feel like it has been a wake-up call for public schools. I honestly believe our public schools will start stepping up and investing where we need to invest, and valuing what parents want. It's no longer
a competitive marketplace,
right?
Increasingly,
it's no longer a one-size-fits-all. So,
which is good, because that's what you want to do anyway as a school board member. You want to provide the best service anyway.
Right.
It just sort of catalyzes the whole system to take a look at it and make it better.
Yeah, and it's really honestly about customer service. I'm a big proponent of customer service, and honestly,
it's good for government to operate that way.
Right. And the superintendent is on board with that. He
is, man.
Just really about focused on solutions, not.
Yep.
And our students are our customers. Our parents are our customers. Our teachers are our customers.
If you have that attitude, it's going to get nothing but better.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is super hyper focused on that. And I think, when it all starts when a child steps on the bus in the morning, it's the attitude of the bus driver can set the tone for the day. How that bus driver interacts, how when they go to get their breakfast, what's their experience like, and is it positive? And it really can set the tone. I mean, you start your day off and you spill your coffee and you're having a bad day. But when someone's nice to you and engaged and truly cares about you and you feel it.
I think that's a huge point you just made, is the attitude from the public sector deployed into government and looking at customer experience from beginning to end in the product that you're offering, and not just, what can often happen in the government sector is, or private sector, deploying private sector thinking towards public. Sort of just checking boxes, making sure that you're providing the service, but because there's nothing at stake, the tax money's still going to come in no matter what. There's not the same level of focus on customer experience.
Right.
Right.
We're going to change that.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
if that's where your head is at, to hear that from a politician or a public servant, that's huge.
Well, and I think it really makes a difference that, first of all, the entire school board is behind that initiative. It's and our superintendent, because he really sees the need to infuse that, that private sector thinking into, traditional government run schools. And, I think that we have to get out of that mindset that, government's going to tell you as the consumer what you're going to get.
Right.
We should be allowing you, our customers, to drive what we do. And, we can't be everything to everyone.
Right. It's tricky because you don't just have a pure customer base that uses you. It's a public service. So it can't be purely free market. It's a little bit awkward, but if you can deploy more of that mentality toward it, it's going to be a better product.
Right. But if I meet someone, you came to me and said, your child needs or wants this type of experience, and I would say, well, you know what, we might not be able to offer that, but let me recommend to you this, and this, because these schools are what you're looking for. This type of curriculum or this type of instruction, whatever it is, this is more in line with what you're telling me. And it's not just about keeping money. It's about doing what's the best thing for children and families. It's not just, I'm gonna lose that FTE, but I know that that's not what this parent, the experience that they're looking for their child. So we have to get out of that mindset that we're just going to hold on to money. It really should be about student success.
Yeah, inevitably, I know I'm beating this to death, but if you're focused on customer experience, you're not going to have to worry about money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a reputation, it's why my parents moved here in '98 was the schools. My mom went looking for who had the best schools in Florida. We were in Miami, and it was falling apart. And somehow she figured out I don't know what she was looking at metric-wise, but it was Martin County. And it was within a couple weeks, the house was for sale, and we were out of there.
Yeah. I mean, we absolutely.
If you have that reputation, you have zero worry about FTE.
Yeah, it's we have an amazing reputation.
People will move here for it.
Yep. And it really is the center of our community, is education and why families want to move here. And
who's going to be taking care of you?
Right.
Right. If you pump out really high quality, educated, intelligent people, you're going to have great doctors, people taking care of you.
Right.
It helps everybody. Well,
and so I'll just tell you a little story about just like during COVID, we had a dad. We don't get a lot of dads that come and speak at public comment. It's mostly very passionate moms. And this dad came, and he was so passionate about his kids. They specifically moved here from North Carolina. So his son, who had some special needs, but he thrived because of music. And they shut all that down in North Carolina. And he came to Martin County.
Because we still had it.
Because we had it. He could participate in band at the high school level. And he literally got so emotional at one of our meetings, speaking at public comment, just begging, please, my son needs this. We moved here for this, please. And I'll never forget that, because, again, we don't get that many. And for that dad to be that emotional, I knew we were doing the right thing for kids.
So you mentioned COVID. Let's talk about COVID.
Okay.
You were one of the only, if not the only one during COVID that had a brain.
Well, I think COVID was a scary time for, a lot of people, and including myself. There was a lot of uncertainty about COVID. And I just feel like I seem to be the chair during the most controversial of topics that come.
Divine intervention, man. Like you said.
And, we shut down in March. Me and my family and kids were all on spring break down in the Keys when we got the notification that my kids were not going back to college. All they had was what was in their suitcase. Mm-hmm. Their dorms, we couldn't even get in to get their clothes. They wouldn't let you in. It was crazy. So we shut down schools from March until beginning of the next year. Mm-hmm. So we went all virtual, which was, a crazy lift. I mean, when I say Lori Gaylord was the superintendent at the time, and she led the district through that, and she really, with such short time, really brought the team together to do the best that they could. I mean, it was not a good situation. There was a lot of lost learning during that time. No fault of our teachers or administrators who really and truly had to turn this so fast. And then we were confronted with opening schools in August. And it was parents wanted schools open. We had all these competing interests. Some people they wanted to remain virtual. We had many discussions leading up to that in June and July, just prepping for what are we going to do.
21, is that what it was?
21.
Yeah.
Yes. 20? 21.
2021.
I know, it's like a blur
it
to
really
me now
at
this
years.
point.
Yeah.
And so, as we were planning over the summer what we were going to do, and then it got down, there was so much, open, no, don't open, virtual, no virtual, and finally got very close to the start of school. And our school board we were getting pressure from different interests. And finally, I was the chair, so I had to pass the gavel to the vice chair at the time, and I made the motion to open school in person and on time. And it was scary, but I was assured by our superintendent, Lori Gaylord, that we had all of the cleaning protocols and the hand sanitizer and all the things that we needed to open safely. Mm-hmm. And we did. And quite honestly, we never looked back. We dealt with quarantines and, people
Things
leaving
happened,
and going.
yeah.
And our staff really, they did the lion's share of the work. And it was pretty amazing to watch everyone come together, because we all knew that we wanted to keep our children and our teachers and our staff as safe as possible. And everybody had a hand in that successful return to in-person school. And we were one of the first school districts in the state to open in person.
And, I don't think you get enough credit for, it's easy for folks to be critical, right? And but when you're in that position, when you're in that chair, and you know in your gut that there's a thing that's the right thing to do, and you're going to catch hell for it, and to be able to, potentially you're surrounded by mush, and nobody wants to be the one and to pass that gavel and say that, and then now to have been right, and you're not going to get any credit for it. No. At the time you're going to catch hell, and now you're not going to get credit for it, but I would like to give you some credit for it. So thank you. And I hope that, going forward, we've learned from that, and we'll have a little more, not just on school boards, but across government, a little more spine, when it's scary.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about kids.
I know.
The kids, man. How you don't want them to be set back any more than they already are. The quicker you can get them without their faces covered, without their teachers' faces covered, and learning
Yeah, and it was an interesting time, and we don't enter this arena to get credit for anything.
True.
We truly, I believe that everyone has very good intentions,
Yes,
regardless of where their views fall. I believe truly, even if I don't agree with them,
Right.
that I believe they have good intentions.
I agree
To
with
put
that.
yourself out there,
Right.
the way that we have to put ourselves out there, the intentions are good.
I agree.
And it's a scary proposition when
Yeah.
you're faced with, something like, hopefully we'll never have to deal with anything like COVID again.
But it takes true leadership in the fog, when it's a lot of chaos going on, to be able to take in the data, not be just afraid, not be overwhelmed, and go, okay, this makes sense. And the greater liability right now is, being afraid, being stagnant, and these kids suffering for another 6 months or a year for what? So that we get more political cover, and then we can all be on the same page. No, let's go. Now.
Yeah.
Go now. Do now.
Well, and we live in a small community,
Yeah.
and you have your vocal people that show up at your meetings, but
Of course.
what was the real testament for me was when I was at Target or Publix,
Right.
and a teacher or a parent would say, "You don't know me, but I know you, and I just want to say thank you."
Yep.
So those are the little moments that we get, and that give us that boost to keep doing what we do. So, it's hard sometimes to get above the noise.
That's the DNA of, to me, a leader, though, is you can weigh that all out and make the call, So, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And you should probably get more credit for that, but you never will.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Maybe they'll just reelect you, and that'll be enough. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I hope we never have to go through that again.
I know. It was hard for everyone. We were in a unique place because kids, anything that involves kids is like really unique. But, our medical community, our law enforcement, everybody just really, that's why I know and have so much confidence, because they never flinched. They never were like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to work. It was always, we're here. We're going to protect our community. We're going to serve our community. We're going to continue doing what we do every day, because that's what we signed up for, and it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So we're at about an hour.
All right.
Do you have any, parting gems for what you want to communicate your platform, or what you'd like to see for the future here for the school board? Or
I think that, a lot of my, what I see happening is, again, it's like this more collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we are at a very unique place in education. Some will say that, I've been on the board for too long. But what I will say that I offer is that experienced leadership that we're losing Mike DeTerlizzi. We have now three newer, two newer board members and one brand new. So I think I do bring that kind of that steady, grounded
glue
leadership to the board, and I hope that the community sees that and values that, because I don't feel like my work is done yet. When I do, I will voluntarily step away and usher in new leadership, and that will be coming soon enough. But I think that I've appreciated the support of our community over the years, and I hope that they will put their trust in me one more time.
All right. Or maybe two.
Or maybe two. I don't know.
Depending on when the job is done.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to share who you are and your platform and your experience. And we'll see what happens, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a joy. It's been really
Awesome.
nice.